Sierra Leonean hip-hop artist Kao Denero has been making waves on the African music scene for over 20 years, using his voice to speak out on social and political issues in his country. He spoke to me about his latest album, Heroes, a tribute to Africa's Pan-African heroes. Let's check it out. Aside from music, Kao Denero gained popularity for his role as a social commentator and anti-corruption advocate. He was recently appointed as a special envoy for entertainment and investment by Sierra Leonean President Julius Maada Bio. He talks to me about how his music and message has evolved over the years.
You know, hey, yo, from the legend of Marcus Garvey, the message of Mali.
So, Kao Denero, I heard that you're going nowadays by the title ambassador. What is that about, my guy? Talk to me. When did you become an ambassador?
Growth.
Hey.
I mean, I think it paid off, all the hard work, commitment, restlessness. So I got to the level where, recognized by the government of Sierra Leone. His Excellency, the President, tapped me on my back and gave me this responsibility.
I love that.
Yes, sir.
Love that. So let's talk about your new album, Heroes. I was listening to some of the tracks on there. The track, Think About It. You're talking about visa propaganda, that you need a visa to Soweto. I am very much against Africans paying for visas. So this record really spoke to me so much.
Thank you.
What inspired you to begin the album with such a provocative track?
Well, when I was working on the album, I actually realized that, okay, I need something that can just sum up all of, everything that I'm talking about, all the concept, the songs, I can just put everything in one pot. The album was missing that, So I love the movie done by Danny Glover in the 80s. I think it came out in 1989 about Nelson Mandela. So there's some music, South African sound in that movie that I sampled. The producer,
yes, I know there's a choral arrangement at the beginning. Even in
Yes.
the video, you have it in there.
Yes,
yes.
It's very distinctive, So it's just questions that all Africans can relate to. Things that we really ramble with all day. Things like, why do I need a visa to Soweto? Why don't we have one passport? Why all these boundaries that were not created by us, separating us? I know definitely we have tribes, but we should be proud of our tribes and who we are. That's what Think About It is. I'm just trying to really just touch on your brain.
Absolutely.
To really ask some questions.
Think about some of the orthodoxies right now, with things that we've been made to believe.
Yes, sir.
And kind of dismantle some of these old narratives about the continent.
Indeed.
Sekou Touré, another song which pays tribute to Guinea's anti-colonialist leader. How do you choose the historical figures that you want to highlight in this album? And what does Sekou Touré to you symbolize for you and for Africans in general, for young people who've never heard of this figure?
Well, most people consider me to be a Pan-Africanist, somebody that's really about, the history of our people, the unity of the continent and oneness, Sekou Touré was one of those leaders, him and Kwame Nkrumah, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, stood up for a lot, of African unity. These guys had meetings in Accra, in solidarity of the vision. Patrice Lumumba from the Congo, these are people dead and gone, forgotten by the new generation. People are really not paying no attention to that, So I just felt like with the platform that I have and with growth, it's not all about making dance music or, just having joyful moment. There are real issues in life. Yes, we make dance music for people to enjoy and have fun. But then I wanted to touch your brain. I wanted to engage the audience to where, they can start feeling like, oh, okay, I learned something about my history, about my people. If you go on YouTube, you check people reacting to the album, that's the reaction I get to where, wow, I never knew about Tamon Sankara.
Yeah.
All the
So
stories.
they might be dead, but their ideas are very much still
Definitely.
alive. How important is it for you to use your platform not only to entertain, but also to educate and raise awareness about African history and politics?
Well, it comes with growth. Of course, I'm a special envoy for entertainment and investment in Sierra Leone, an ambassador. So I have to really rethink the kind of material or content I put out. It has to be productive. It has to be impactful. So when I approach creating music, that's the approach. That's the thoughtful process that I go through. And Heroes just fit that. It's like a lecturer lecturing through university. I wanted to do that in music, Not to say I know it all. I'm still learning, I'm still a student, but I think I did a great job on this project.
And you've been around for a minute. One of the few people that are in the hip hop genre that have consistently been releasing material that speaks to the realities of the people on the continent. I remember when I was in Sierra Leone a couple of years ago, and people were trying to put me onto your music, to this one album that you had just released, and it was about to be election time, and for me it seemed like it was the soundtrack of the time. So, how do you think your sound and message have evolved over the years, and how does Heroes, this album, reflect that growth?
Well, you can tell definitely by the growth process of my creativity. 10 years ago, I was thinking about making the next hit song, like, just really trying to hit the clubs, hit the radio station, without, really, really taking some time to it. Now I want to make timeless music. I want to make music that's going to be here for generations, music that will never fade away. People that I listened to that inspired me to do music are the people like the great late Bob Marley, the late great Tupac Shakur, all these people that stood for something. They were not just doing music for merriment. So that's the kind of path in a positive light. That's the same thing I'm trying to do with my own creativity. I feel like I grew from where I was. Now it's more matured music, but I'm still a fierce MC. Certain elements of the game I'm not letting go, to where, when it comes to battles, it comes to really showing that, I'm one of the best in the continent. That's always with me.
Yeah. So, and at this point, as a veteran artist, what advice would you give to young African artists who are trying to balance, commercial success, but also creating socially conscious music?
Don't be a one night, like a one-hit wonder guy. Don't just do music for the moment. You have to really dig deep. When you do music that's coming from your soul, it's timeless, because people going to be relating to it forever. I know we all want to do the bling bling. We all want to do something like microwave music that's going to come hit now and then you pass away. I will advise them to really be committed to their craft, to really just have a clean spirit and work hard. You really got to put in a lot of work. Like you said it yourself, you've known Kao Denero for the longest. I think when I was made the entertainment ambassador, a lot of people thought that would be the end of the music career. Like, oh nah, Kao is about to really hang his boots up. So when I was working on the Heroes album, I have a point to prove. To a lot of people that know, working at the office as the entertainment ambassador, trying to make policies, having meetings, doesn't change anything when I go back to the studio.
Absolutely. You're creating the bangers. So let's again talk a little bit more about this Heroes album, because I really, the few tracks that I've listened to, I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
The themes of Pan-Africanism, as you said, you're a Pan-Africanist, they run through the album. How do you hope that this album will contribute to the broader conversation around African unity, especially among young people?
Well, I think, the young people are the next generation, and I feel like there's a gap, like my generation, we had a few people that really was like invested in learning about our history, and about our past. We pride ourselves, I was born in 1980, so pretty much that was the time when the Wailers were still rocking the earth,
absolutely.
So 85, Peter Tosh and them. In the early 90s, you had Lucky Dube, So we know about consciousness and music that stands for something.
Absolutely.
But this generation today, there's a gap. They have lost it. They like make drill music.
I like that you brought 1980, the year you were born, a seminal moment in African history. Bob Marley was in Zimbabwe singing at the independence celebrations of... But you're saying there's a missing link between that time period and now with these young people not understanding fully.
They're not understanding that.
What do they need to understand about not just our heroes, but about Pan-Africanism?
Well, it hurts me most times, like I remember I went to Ghana one time. I was there and, we talking, I'm having a discussion with the driver that was driving me around. And I'm like, yo, so you guys are close to Burkina Faso. And he was like, oh, that place, that's a village. So I'm like, one African is thinking is superior than the other, and
those
it
are
hurts me
divisions
sometimes.
that are unnecessary divisions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like before all the boundaries and borders and flags, this was a one territory place where it's tribes trading amongst each other, with no country flag. You know, you have the Yorubas traveling. They will come, the Hausa, they will come all the way and do business with the Ashantis. You have the Madingos coming from here. The Fulanis travel all the way from East Africa, all the way to West Africa and settled. They're from Ethiopia, that area. That's why you see the Fulani with their face.
Yes,
They
they're
look like
pastoral
Ethiopians.
people. Yes.
So this was what was going on in the continent before all the separation
Yeah.
and borders and flags. So I want young people to go back to that mentality that, we are one people, It's just somebody came and separated us. The moment we grasp to that, I think it will make a better day for Africa and for us.
And in this album also you touch upon the idea of leaders, African leaders being loyal to their colonial powers. How do you think African leadership can break away from this legacy and truly serve their people?
Well, it's really about internal unity, because once a house that's not standing together, it's easy to fall, But I guess it's because of selfishness. Some people have investments in different places. That's their interest. So they're not looking at the bigger picture to where it's for a generation and a people, The leaders that stood for a people, they're no longer here. Some of these guys, we have a few, I would really call my president a diplomatic revolutionarist. Like he was recently just at the UN and he gave a speech that was really mind-blowing about the Security Council involving a lot of African leaders in their establishments, Like he made a statement that most of the rules that the Security Council created was when Africa was in colonialism still.
So they don't count really for the reality now.
So we have to improvise and, we need a voice, a bigger voice in the Security Council and all this lawmaking.
Absolutely. So let's share some of your creative process. You are now an ambassador. You have a full office, a minister, whatever the title you have. You are, I don't know, you wouldn't really call yourself a politician. I don't think that is a term that you want to, attach to yourself.
I'm just social conscious.
Right.
Just
But how did you select the themes and the collaborators and the production styles for this album?
Well, like I said previously on the other interview, when I'm working on an album, it's not just self-centered. I take ideas and I listen to advice and I might send a record to somebody like my manager, Coscanino, and you'll be like, Kao, this is not 1995, man. That flow is like, you know what I mean? Like, it'll hurt me, but then I will be like, hey, maybe he has a point. I have to go back to the drawing board and see how I can modernize things,
Yeah.
So, like I did a song, My Sound, on the album. I featured 2 Nigerian artists. He totally sent me some records. Like, I remember 3 years ago, he was telling me about different artists like Kao. You forget about the famous Nigerian artists. Work with the ones that's coming up. So by the time they blow up, you already got records with them. And I listened this time. We did a club banger, My Sound, one of the best records on the album, and I have a phenomenal producer. Shout out to my boy, Lord Mo. I work with different producers, but I'll give him an idea, and I'll help through the production process. I want this sound to sound like this, and we create it. We go back to the drawing board. So, I'm very, very involved in creating, all this masterpiece. Collaborations, I reached out to someone like Mood 9. Mood 9 is like a legend when you think about Nigerian hip-hop. He's been a friend for over 8-9 years. We've been talking since he was in Lagos. He's like a pioneer, Nigerian hip-hop pioneer.
Absolutely. I don't know. I know Mood 9.
Yeah, Mood 9. Sure, So he has a lot of love and respect for me, and we communicated. I sent him a couple of beats. He's a very hot, very difficult guy, You just don't send him any beats. He doesn't just jump on anything. So when
He's very selective, absolutely.
Very selective.
Yeah.
I sent him this primo type hip-hop backpack beats, and he loved it. That's his area, his niche. I sent the chorus already.
Which songs did he produce on the album?
The Essence.
The Essence.
The Essence is straight hip-hop, backpack hip-hop.
Yeah.
So he came up with the idea of the hook. He's like, all right, listen, let's sample Il Bliss. Il Bliss is another Nigerian hip-hop artist. He like, Il Bliss is my guy, I'll get the vocals. So we sampled Il Bliss on the chorus, and it became a phenomenal hip-hop record.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the Sierra Leonean music industry. Now that you're fully engaged on the policy-making side, what is the missing link for it to be able to be a viable commercial success as we have seen Afrobeats in Nigeria?
Well, there's a couple of things. I've had several meetings, like especially with the producers in Sierra Leone. We have great producers, but what we lack is that signature sound. Nigeria has a signature sound, which is Afro beats. The East Africans, they have a signature sound, bonga music. I think that's how they call it.
Bongo.
Bongo
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
As soon as you hear it, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's them. Amapiano, South
Amapiano,
Africa. They have
yeah.
they have something that they're known for. So we have traditional music called bubu and gumbe.
You
If
want
we
to capitalize on
yes,
that. Yes.
if we can
And build upon
capitalize
it,
from
yeah.
that and create a signature sound
Yeah.
and maybe put out some rhythms like the Jamaicans doing, they have one beat, all the big artists jump on that beat, make it national anthem to where everybody's getting used to that. Then from that, we know to where the producers pass that knowledge to anyone doing production. This is the BPM that you have to follow. This is the signature, even if you create it your own way. But then we have a signature. I think
What would you say is the state of Sierra Leone's music industry right now? How has it evolved over the last 15 years when you've been in the industry?
In the 2000s, we were doing great. I mean, phenomenal. We had artists selling out stadiums, touring. Actually, what was significant was P Square had their first stadium event in Sierra Leone.
I remember that.
They said it on
Yes,
CNN.
yes.
After that show in Freetown, they went international.
It was the catalyst that they needed. It was the spark.
Yes. And that happened in Freetown.
Yes.
So, we were doing great in the beginning, but something happened, a vacuum, to where the artists start traveling and living the vacuum in the industry back home. So new groups of artists have to emerge, and they didn't have artist development. These guys are just thinking about the fame. There's a couple of good ones, but now things have started to pick up again.
Is that why you moved back from the US back to Sierra Leone to try and pick up some of these pieces of the artists that have left?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like, I believe in my vision and my talent. I believe that I can make a sustainable living off what I do. Some people are still just guessing, like taking the risk. Oh, should I really rely on this? Should I get a 9 to 5? Should I, but I saw the potential after, I started packing stadiums and doing shows, touring the whole country of Sierra Leone. I feel like this is my calling. Whatever else great that's coming after, it can start from this. This can be the genesis.
How do you explain your longevity in the music industry?
It's just being engaged. I'm very engaged with my fan base, and I really try to rebrand and really don't be stuck in the past. If you listen to my music, it fits today. Some people say, oh, Kao sound like a rapper from the 90s. No, but I'm talking about significant
issues
things.
of today.
Of today.
Yeah.
So if you don't like the beat, but you like the message. If you don't like the message, I have a record on the album called Tonight. It has like an amapiano feel. It's a very, very dope record. It's like a pop record. There's a couple of I have some Afrobeat sounding records too on the album. So it's fusion music.
Speaking of messages, what do you hope people take away from this album, Heroes?
I want them to really identify their identity again. We've lost that a little bit. People have to really, they say if you don't know where you're coming from,
you don't know where you're going.
You don't know where you're going.
You're lost.
Exactly. So if people start knowing about, I think the record actually that inspired the Heroes album is the record I did called Story of Lumumba. I touched on Patrice Lumumba, and I was getting calls and contacts from the whole continent. I have lawyers in Kenya reaching out to me, people in the Congo, in Uganda, like, yo, this is brilliant, bro. We like this. So I felt like, okay.
You touched the nerve.
Yes. People are listening. People are listening in the continent. So I have to do more of this. 70s Robert Mugabe, Papa struggling to pay the bill, sister prostitute, yes, she may be killed, fetching water for a daily meal, maybe still swimming with the fishes like a Navy SEAL, overcoming obstacles, the blessings come in multiples, wondering how we can stop the souls, ghetto survivor, street my provider, raised by the granny, no presence of a father, wondering how I can dodge this, for the popo we the target practice, only rock with the real for real, the bullshit artists, so many crabs in the bucket. They hate us daily. Kill him with the substance.
Kao,
yes,
my
sir.
guy, going hard right here on the Voice of America. My J, respect, brother. That
Blessings.
explains the longevity in the industry.
Thank you.
My guy.
Thank
Bless.
you. Blessings. Respect.
Bless.